Welcome to RVA Connected with Anna Sothen, the podcast that brings local communities and businesses closer together in Richmond, Virginia. Anna will guide you through the vibrant intersections of RVA's entrepreneurial spirit, community relationships, and the latest insights and strategies for your RVA business. Get ready to feel connected to the heartbeat of our city's small businesses. Here's Anna Sothen.
Hi, everybody. I am Anna Sothen. Anna like Princess Anna from Frozen, and Sothen like the beginning of a story. And I am your community connector. I am your human Rolodex. I help you increase your visibility and your credibility so that you can increase your business's profitability. If you want to be seen, if you want to be heard, if you want to be the expert in your industry, you need to connect. So reach out to me. Anna Sothen at Best Version Media.
I know, it's my sexy voice. I lost my sexy voice and I keep talking about that, how upset I am. But I was listening to that and I think I have to give a huge shout out to YB, because I think the whole, if you want to be seen, if you want to increase your business's profitability, may have been his words that I stole. So that's fine, because everything we say is never our own original words. It's somebody else's, right? Yes, so there you go. 100%. But I'm excited. Here we are on Thursday, the in crowd, and I am with, I feel like one of my new best friends, Lindsay. I mean, she doesn't know that. She just found out that she's my new best friend, and she's probably like, "Oh, great!" And
yeah, I do love you.
Oh,
it's been great. What has it been, like a month?
Yeah, I know, right? I feel like I've known you forever. But we have Lindsay Harris with Leader Haven, not Leader Heaven.
Leader Haven.
Leader Haven.
Yeah.
And we connected because. So Hope and Maria were on here at one point, and so I had said my zone of genius, like that's one of my things. And like, yes. I like to stay in my zone of genius because that's where I am good. And I love to have people surround me. That's what makes really good leaders. People who have people in their sphere who do really good things, right? Yes. I don't want to be the best at everything. I just want to be the best at what I do. And so Absolutely. I said zone of genius, and they're like, oh my gosh, have you met Lindsay? And I was like, no, I don't know. She's like, she talks about your working genius.
Yes, I do.
So tell people a little bit about who you are.
Absolutely.
What you do.
Yes.
And what working genius is. I feel like I'm excited for you to tell people about that.
Yes, me too. So I'm Lindsay Harris. Hello, nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you.
I have a passion for helping leaders in many different formats. So about a couple of years ago, I started exploring what it would look like to do that on a regular basis. And I founded Leader Haven.
Awesome.
Where I help leaders rediscover joy and dismantle dysfunction. Because
dismantle is that word.
Because I find that that's really the two core issues I run into. People are so discontent or dissatisfied and don't feel like they have a safe space to talk about it. And also they're struggling with team dynamics that they just weren't equipped to handle. We don't learn in school how to relate to each other well, right, and develop, really good relational skills or conflict management, building trust. All these things that matter just don't come naturally in a lot of cases. So I help leaders through individual coaching and team workshops. And my favorite workshop that I'm doing a lot of right now is called the Working Genius. Yes. And the Working Genius is actually designed, I was drawn to it because it's designed to help you discover joy and energy in the work you do.
Yes.
Yes.
And we talked about that a little bit, right? So there's certain things that we can be good at them, but they drain us.
Absolutely.
So if they don't bring us joy, or if we're not in alignment, then we're not the best person to do it.
Absolutely.
Even if we are the one who's talented,
yes,
or the one who has the skills, or whatever the case may be. But if how you're showing up isn't in alignment and it doesn't bring you joy, then you're not the best person to do it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And it feels good when you are good at something. People seek you out for it. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a job where you're really, really good at it, but you don't like it. And the disconnect I find, I don't know, maybe you can echo this but people think something's wrong with them because they don't enjoy something they're really good at, that they've been, gifted this opportunity. And the truth is everything you just said. It's not that you need to do it because you're good at it. It's just that you're good at it. And maybe somebody else who does find joy in it would be even better at it. And that those dots would be connected for them. So why not move on to something where you do find joy and energy? And that's kind of how the Working Genius is designed. You land on your two working geniuses that really do bring you joy and energy. And then you also have two working competencies, which are those things that are sneaky and cause burnout without us even realizing it. Because we're so competent at it.
Right.
We're just not designed to do it all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now this reminds me of a conversation I've had with my son. So maybe I need to go back and have this conversation with him.
Yeah.
But so he's been playing the drums.
Oh,
He's
yes.
actually talented, and he
Mhm.
has what most people don't have, which is like the ear to actually be able to hear music, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so he has the talent. So now it's just a matter of nurturing it. And I'm trying to encourage him to like, oh, but you have talent.
Yes.
And he struggles sometimes because, well, he's 11, so he wants to go and play with his friends, like, and let's just be honest, right? And so this is something that he has to work at. But
Mhm.
I would love to redirect that conversation where it doesn't feel like, hey, you have to go and do this, but like, let's find joy if there is joy in doing
Yes.
it, and something like that. So
Absolutely.
so how many working geniuses are there?
There are 6. So
6.
every job, every work process includes those 6 geniuses, and
Okay.
every single one of them is necessary.
Okay.
We find that you need every single one of them in order to be successful and be productive. And often teams don't have somebody with certain geniuses, and they'll experience all these symptoms like one of the last geniuses, not last in rank, just last in the order of the process, is tenacity. And those are the people who like to check the box and get something done. Like they're the ones that are like, have you done it? Have you done it yet? Because they need to check that box. But if you don't have that, that's when we're on a team where nothing ever gets finished. Because everybody's so excited about it, but that person doesn't exist and nobody wants to step up and do it because it's not their genius. Yeah. Yes.
Well, brick between the eyeballs, right?
Oh, no. Oh, wow, I hit the nail on the head.
You did.
It's okay.
You did.
That's okay.
But it's good to recognize those things, right? Because then there's this level of frustration, because it's sort of like a known, but an unknown. Like, how do you discover that? So figuring out, where people thrive, and realizing, oh, we don't have the tenacious person. So can we go out? Can we find that person? Because then it's just going to complete the pie of the team.
Absolutely.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
What if you're a team of 1?
Oh, that's such a great question. That's when we get creative. I work with a lot of people where we just look at it for what it is for yourself.
Okay.
And figure out ways to redirect or surround yourself with people that can help you and feel gifted in those areas. I think what we oftentimes do is say, gosh, I don't want to ask that person to do that. They're too busy. And we assume something about them. But if that work brings them joy, you're actually giving them a gift by asking them to help you with it. If they have the capacity and, really want to come alongside you and do that. So even in families, it's amazing to see families say something like, oh my gosh, no wonder she doesn't like to cook. That process of actually the planning of it and the having to cross the items off the list and get it done. She's just not good at that. That's me.
I mean, I don't mind cooking. I just don't like the going to the I'm the person who goes to the grocery store, buys all the things, and then comes home and says, what are we ordering?
Yes.
Because I don't want to. I'm like, I've already done that. I don't want to do the thing.
I do that too.
Because I don't like checking off boxes.
Yes.
My husband, who's not on Facebook, so he will not see this, but he is the exact opposite. He's like, check.
Yes.
He has a list. He has a notebook on his, I'm like, I don't know why I'm looking like he works here, but he has a notebook, and every single day I see him and he just writes things down. And then I go back, and at the end of the day, he's literally like, and it's not just a check mark, like he is like crossing them out.
It probably brings him great joy to do that. Yes.
Never mind what I think it does for him. But I think he is one of those individuals that thrives off of that.
Yeah.
Me seeing a list, I'm like, oh crap, where can we put the list and hide it?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, well, I didn't see that. I didn't want to do that. So there's some people who, have great joy and there's probably tons of coaches who talk to you about, hey, just make a list. And then as you check it off, you're like, oh, that feels so good. It doesn't feel good for me.
No, that's absolutely true.
Yes.
And it's okay. It doesn't mean you're broken.
Right.
So
I think that's important.
It is.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because we feel like, I'm not going to put this on anybody else, but I feel like if I can't do something, it's because there's something wrong with me.
Right.
And that's not true.
We've kind of been conditioned. I know we talk about strengths and there's lots of merit in that, but we've kind of been conditioned to feel like we lean into our strengths, and then the things that we're not strong at, we must develop them and make them better, even if we're never excellent at them. And the truth is that it just doesn't work out. And when you actually do mainly lean into those strengths and even further into what brings you joy and energy, and when everybody does that, it's like a well-oiled machine. It's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've heard a lot, as in the different industries that I've been in, it's what is the what's the saying? The jack of all trades, but
Master of none.
Master of none,
Yeah.
right? And so I used to work in the financial industry. And so they had, when I first started, it was, you learned about everything. You learned about RMDs, you learned about IRAs, you learned about this, you learned about that. You just became like this, you knew enough, especially in that industry, to be dangerous, but not enough to know exactly, well, if something goes different than the way it should, not wrong, but different than the way it's, supposed to go or whatever, that you just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so you don't know. And so that can be a problem. Right.
Absolutely.
So I love this idea of really drilling down and getting deeper and deeper into your strengths. And it's okay that you have things that don't bring you joy or you're weak at or whatever you want to call it, and really leaning into that. But how would you coach somebody? How would you coach me? Because this is, I don't put words into anybody else's mouth, right? But leaning into my strengths without feeling like, well, if I don't look at my weaknesses, if I don't think about them, if I don't pay attention to them, that is going to be my detriment.
How do you coach somebody to lean into the others?
Yes.
It's really, the beauty is when you do this in a group conversation, where people can say, oh my gosh, you are so good at that. I see you light up when you're in that pocket. And then we say that about the other person and you start to realize where the gaps are. I've seen teams where somebody who's never led a meeting, we realize they're a galvanizer, which is somebody who changes the energy when they walk into the room. And they would be great at leading a meeting, but that's not part of their role. So why would you ask them to do it? Nobody's ever given them permission to do it. The person who does it hates it. They hate every minute of trying to, administrate that meeting. You put this person in place and let them do their thing, and all of a sudden everything changes. So witnessing that is helpful. If you're on your own, really it's just a matter of starting to let go of the judgment of self, which is kind of what our culture has trained us to do, and say, but pay attention to the results when you're doing this. Yeah. When you're working within your geniuses, it's the type of thing you can do all day, every day. And even though you may get tired, it's a different type of tired. It's not burnout, exhausted tired. It's like, this is who I am. And I could do it all day, every day and still feel good about it. Right. And the positive of it starts to outweigh the, oh gosh, I got to develop this. Like I will tell people, what is the voice that's telling you need to do that? Where does that come from? Right. And we start to dismantle that too, to say that's inner judgment, inner criticism that we can let go of, because there's nobody standing there telling you. Right. Unless you're in a job that you're not a fit for, that you got to be better at this thing. And if that's the case, then let's talk about that. Yes. Because it's probably not a fit. Right. Yeah. Let's talk about leaving that job. Yes. Right. Because again, so if you're taking up, and we talked about this a little bit before, if you're taking up space and are not a fit for it, or it doesn't bring you joy, then you are not allowing the opportunity for somebody else to take over in that position where it would bring them joy. And then everybody prospers. Absolutely. Right. Because it has somebody who is a fit for that, or it brings energy to the group. So 100%. Yeah. Yes. And I know change is not always easy. Like you can't just say, well, I'm going to change my job tomorrow. And it's that simple. So sometimes we get creative and look at what parts of the job lean into your geniuses, because all of a sudden, just like the car analogy where you see, you buy a car and all of a sudden you see them everywhere. When we call it out, all of a sudden you can start to see the things in pieces of your work that lean into your geniuses, and at least give yourself a little bit more momentum to get to the harder parts. Right. Those elements of your work. So, yeah. So I heard one time I was listening to, I think it was, now I can't remember what it was. It doesn't matter. But when it's something that you don't like to do, like I hate doing the dishes. I hate cleaning. Period. Which is why I love to hire somebody else, because I'm also contributing to their prosperity. So that's what I keep telling myself. And it saves my marriage every 2 weeks, let's be honest. But I don't like doing those things. And so what I learned a long time ago was, how can I find joy in this? So if while you're doing the dishes, you're listening to music and you're like dancing along or whatever, or you incorporate your kids. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you always have to do that, but in the moment when it is necessary for you to complete that one task, finding joy so that you can then do something about it. Yes, absolutely. Until you're able to, whether it be transition out, or maybe like you said, so somebody who doesn't like to lead a meeting, but there is somebody who does like to lead a meeting, and then you swap those roles. So you're not changing jobs, but now all of a sudden a job that they hated coming to, they enjoy coming to. Yes. Like that changes everything. It does.
It really does.
And even in those, the house tasks or the things that you do in your daily life that you don't want to do. I have a friend, I didn't think about it until you were just describing that. She cannot stand folding laundry, but she loves to talk and she just loves being with people. So she'll call me and say, will you just come sit with me while I fold my laundry? She didn't ask me to help. She doesn't expect me to help. I do, because why not? I'm sitting there.
Yeah.
But we talk, and she is so fulfilled while folding her laundry.
I love that.
And I know that's not ideal because you can't do that at 12 at night. Please come to my house and let's fold my laundry together. Don't sleep. You don't need sleep. But it's, getting creative and figuring out how to almost outsmart yourself.
I love that idea.
Outsmart yourself.
Yes. So the next time I call, just know that it's going to be because I have to fold my laundry and I really don't want to do this.
Yes.
Yeah. So I try to make that fun as well too. And so sometimes I'll do it where I take everybody's clothes and I separate them out into piles.
Yeah.
And then I fold that, and because then it the pile starts to disappear. Right.
Absolutely.
And then other times I'm like, that doesn't feel good. So I'm just going to fold each piece as it comes and then put that away. And then the next time it's like, nope, that doesn't. So it's constantly changing.
Trying to change it.
Yes, absolutely. But again, it's unfortunately like dishes and laundry. Those are types of things that they're not going to go away.
Right.
Unless you become a nudist, and
that's an option.
Unless you stop eating and become a breatharian. Apparently there is a lady, did you know there's a lady in Australia who's a breatharian?
Do explain.
She apparently survives off of air and sunshine.
Really?
Yes, please Google it. And Mike is not a breatharian. He's over there going, Side note, squirrel, that's not what we're talking about. But anyway, so back to what we were talking about. So tell me, so you work with both corporate clients. I know that as well too. And then now you're helping individuals as well. So question, which one do you prefer?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? I think I prefer individuals. I really do. There is nothing like it to me to sit across from someone who's in a space they're not sure how to navigate, and we figure that out together.
Yeah.
Whether we use this tool or not. And I find that even when I go into, whether it's a corporate company or a small business that's scaling, I love working with those as well, because a lot of times a leader starts a business. They love what they started out doing because they were so good at it. And then as you start to put people around you, you experience things you didn't anticipate. Right. And what was beautiful suddenly becomes really difficult and kind of has all the ugly sides of it. And they're not equipped to handle it.
Right.
We're trying to get business done. I don't want to, profitability, all those things still have to happen. So being able to come alongside them, even if we're doing team stuff, it's really about that person who cares and wants it to be different for themselves, for people around them, for whatever it is they're pursuing in their life. And we get there. And that's what's lovely. I love that so much.
Yeah. It's beautiful to see that transition and know that not that you did it. So I used to be a health coach, right? And so that was like, I have to do this for them, right? But it's a guidance of, so you just guided them, right? And sort of held their hand as they figured it out on them by themselves, not 100%. On themselves, by themselves, right? But being able to be part of that journey is actually, it's really beautiful.
Absolutely.
So it's pretty fulfilling. So tell people how they could benefit from working with you, and how can they work with you?
Absolutely. So you can benefit individually, obviously. I do a lot of coaching packages where we can look at a particular issue and figure out how to get you over the hump.
Okay.
Sometimes people stick around after that because it just feels good, but it's meant to be a resource you use and then, move on and come back if you need to. But I do team workshops as well, whether that's at the corporate level or for, small businesses, to help them find a new level of trust, whatever that looks like. I think Working Genius is a great starting place for that. Okay. It's easy. The assessment takes 10 minutes. Team debriefs they can be a 2-hour debrief or a 4-hour debrief, and we customize them. If you're doing like a 2-day retreat and you want to fit it in somewhere, we figure out how to do that. And it's just a really lovely place to establish a common language amongst multiple people. Okay. And a new place to kind of leave from, where we're going to try this new thing and figure out how we're more productive as a team and happier, more joyful, fulfilled as a team. So those are my favorite ways to work with people right now. But I really love to hear what they need most and then figure out what's going to work best. Because even in a team scenario, sometimes what we need is personal coaching first before we jump into the team, because there's issues there. So
So it's more of a personalized approach versus here's my program. You have to fit
Absolutely.
into my program, which I'm a
Absolutely.
huge fan of, right? Because I
Yeah.
tell people that all the time. Like they'll ask me for, my magazine. Can you just send me the rates?
Yeah.
Nope, I can't
No.
because I don't know what you need,
Right.
right? There's
Right.
tons of things that I have to offer, but you may not
Absolutely.
want all of
Yes.
them, and you may not
Yes.
benefit from all of
Right.
them, or you may not be able to use all of them. So
Yes.
let me figure out what it is that you need, and then I will build my box based off of your needs.
Absolutely.
So I love that.
Yes.
So how many people have you found, because again, I am changing who I am, people reverting back to their old habits because that's comfortable.
Absolutely.
And so what happens then?
That is out of my control. I think a lot of times that ongoing coaching is helpful, not to help me, but to establish new habits.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. Some people say 10 weeks. It's more like 90 days. Like, let's at least be here for 90 days where you have a constant voice in your ear challenging those old habits, the old mindsets. And if we need to keep going, great. But it takes practice. And it's so easy. It's so easy to go back to where we're comfortable when there's not that voice regularly in your head. I have my own coach. I've had my own coach. I've recently switched just because of the season of life. But having that voice in the community I was in has changed everything for me. It really has. I wish I could get into that because that's been transformative. But yeah, I recommend it because I've experienced it.
Right.
And it really is kind of life-changing to have people in your corner who can talk about the hard things with you from a different perspective, not family. They're too much up in it. Even your best friends, they want your best interest. But a lot of times they're not designed to, they're designed to be like, how dare they?
Right, exactly. They're going to go to bat for you because
Absolutely.
they don't want, they want to see you happy, and they can't see the overall perspective, right?
Right.
And this is why I've always said, like, every coach needs a coach. Like, I'm a yoga instructor, but I go to yoga classes. Why is that? Because we need that outside perspective. When we are what I like to call in like the midst of the chaos, right? So the way I imagine that is I'm in the middle of a tornado and there's this just whoosh, 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 whoosh. We tend to forget the things that we know when we're in the middle of the situation.
Yes.
Right. I'm having this challenging conversation with this client, and then let's say I call you and you're like, oh, well, how have you thought about this? Or have you thought about saying that? And I'm like, I know those things.
Absolutely.
But I'm so enwrapped in it that I don't remember my basics. Right. 100%. So having somebody who, like you said, can have that conversation with you, can say the hard things.
Yes.
And knowing that it's not coming from a place of judgment, but a place of just reminding you, you already know this. Let's get back to it.
Right.
Here's where we need to go from here. Like, I think that's super important.
Absolutely.
For people as well too. And it's okay to ask for help.
Yes. That's
okay to ask for help.
Okay to ask for help. Yes.
I'm saying that to myself.
I just a couple of days ago met with a client who coaches, and that person said, I tell my people this all the time. It makes me feel, she said, ashamed that I don't remember it, but it's not a shame thing. We're human.
Yeah.
It's human nature to revert back to old habits. We build neural pathways. I know we hear about this all the time now, but you have negative neural pathways, and reestablishing those, the actual brain connection takes up to 6 weeks, at least 6 weeks, to start to make a new connection. And that's when you repeatedly practice something. If you're not practicing it, or you're slower at it, it takes longer. And that's okay. That's science. I mean,
I know, right?
You can't combat that. That's not a matter of willpower.
Right.
That is actually getting it done. So
I want to go back to this whole concept of shame.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, like, if you are the best at what you do, asking for help in your industry can feel like, well, if I coach people on these things, or if I help people with this, if I help people with marketing, if I help people with advertising or networking or coaching or health coaching or whatever the case may be, like, there's a shame in asking for help.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, letting go of that is, I just, again, right between the eyeballs again, but people don't. And why is that? Why is it? Because is it because society? I don't know. That's probably a bigger question that we can answer today. But why do we do that? Why do we shame ourselves? Because nobody else is shaming us.
No,
we are shaming ourselves
Absolutely.
into thinking that now, because you asked for help, now you're not good enough.
Yes.
Like, why?
I don't even know that it's just asking for help. And I'll do a plug. It doesn't
Please
help
do.
me at all, but I just did it was a grant program for coaches called Positive Intelligence through Shirzad Kameen. And through that, we learned that we have 10 saboteurs in our brain, and everyone has the judge.
The judge.
Everyone has the judge. And so whether it's, asking for help or how you performed on that, whatever you were doing, playing music, or how you did the presentation, or whether you did your job properly, we are harsher on ourselves than we are ever on other people in a lot of cases. So really starting to nail that and replace that voice, that's a neural pathway we build. Like, how do I start to recognize that for what it is? Because when we name it and sit it in a corner.
Yeah. Bad.
Yes. So anyway, being able to name that and really give it legs, literally, and say, no, you be quiet. Today, this is what I'm telling myself. Yeah. It's practice, just like everything else. We practice it and learn a new way of thinking and being, even in asking for help, which is really saying, I don't have an answer right now, which might be a better way to say it. Let me ask somebody who might give me perspective and help me find an answer. Yeah.
I like that. It's not it's shifting it to say, hey, I just need a different perspective right now, because I can't see the forest for the trees.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love that. Okay. Thank you. All right. So tell people how they can connect with you, like website.
100%. So I'm on LinkedIn. It's Lindsay-M-Harris is my actual personal profile. Lindsay with an A. It's hard to find for some reason, but I'm there. You can reach out to me there. And my website is leader-haven.com.
Perfect. Yeah. Awesome.
You can reach out to me there too.
Yes. Yeah. And I would highly recommend. So she and I have had, well, we'll say 1.5 sessions, because we had acai bowls the second time, but
I know
we did. Yeah. But we started to talk about how I'm going to move forward. And I think with your help, I was able to discover some opportunities that I may not have known were available to me. Absolutely. And leaning into my strengths. Yes, right. So I would definitely recommend reaching out to Lindsay and at least having a conversation.
Yes, we can absolutely do that. You just book a quick call and we'll talk about what's happening. And if I can't help you, or we're not a fit for some reason, I have resources. I always want to provide some sort of value to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's so if anybody has ever read The Go-Giver, that's a really, really good book, and Positive Intelligence. So she recommended it. And while I was sitting down with her, I ordered it and I've been reading it. And so every time I read something, I'm like, I'll send her the screenshot. I'm like, this is me. But I would highly recommend sitting down and having that conversation with you, because it's super powerful and impactful. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. It's been an honor. Thank you for being here. Yeah. And until we see each other again next time, stay fluid, my friends. I'm cheering for you.
Hi, everybody. I am Anna Soden, Anna like Princess Anna from Frozen, and Soden like the beginning of a story. And I am your community connector. I am your human Rolodex. I help you increase your visibility and your credibility, so that you can increase your business's profitability. If you want to be seen, if you want to be heard, if you want to be the expert in your industry, you need to connect. So reach out to me, Anna Soden, at Best Version Media.
Hi, everybody.